Far beneath the surface of the earth, hidden from the sun and the moon, upon the shores of the Starless Sea, there is a labyrinthine collection of tunnels and rooms filled with stories. Stories written in books and sealed in jars and painted on walls. Odes inscribed onto skin and pressed into rose petals. Tales laid in tiles upon the floor. Bits of plot worn away by passing feet. Legends carved in crystal and hung from chandeliers. Stories cataloged and cared for and revered. Old stories preserved while new stories spring up around them.
We're lit, no chill. Some crumbs of academia, mostly chaos. If queer lit is your love language, we're fluent. Listen up, babes. We're not here to tease. We spill everything. Listener discretion is strongly encouraged, but honestly, you knew that. Welcome to Cliterature, the podcast. Welcome back.
Episode 6.
It's episode 6. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you for joining us to discuss my literal all-time favorite book.
Tell them what it is.
The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern.
She said it with such whimsy in her voice.
If only you could see my face right now. I am so excited. I have waited a whole month to record this episode.
Preface, Dee has read this book multiple times. And if you could see her copy, it's annotated out the wazoo. I don't even know if that's her original annotated version.
No, it's not.
Did you do it again?
I've done it 3 times.
Okay. See, obsession.
I was gifted an annotated copy.
Yeah.
It's the way I read the book the first time.
Yeah.
I annotated that copy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I annotated a copy and gifted it to the person who gifted it to me. So
Yeah.
they had a copy. And then I annotated this one as well.
Okay. So she's got her annotations down.
Yeah. And the cool thing, and we'll talk about this more, but the thing I love about this book is I've read this book 4 times.
Yeah.
And from start to finish, and then excerpts and listen to parts of it here or there as well.
Yeah.
I find something different every single time. If
I can
you were
see
to
that,
lay
yeah.
my annotations out side by side, there would be different things in each of them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love about this book.
Yeah. I mean, it's so freaking layered. I just finished this. Like, what time is it? I finished it like 45 minutes ago. Talk about down to a wire. But, I just wanted to be fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I finished it and
Yeah.
I loved it. I will tell you. I know you're worried that I was going to hate it. I didn't hate it. I absolutely loved it. I feel like last night, it was like 11 o'clock and I was listening in bed and my wife and my daughter were asleep and I was still like, I had one earbud in and I was just laying there and it got to a part where I was just like, what?
My phone just started blowing up, like vibrating off of the table, and I pick it up, and it is just like a live tweet of Haley losing it.
I was like,
over
she's
this book.
what? And I think he's not. Wait, is she? What the fuck? I was just like I couldn't. And I still feel that way. That's pretty much the sentiment that I walked away with, is that I know what happened and I know who everyone is, but also I don't know anything that happened and I don't know who anybody is. And like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely want to read it again.
I think that is the overwhelming reaction to people who read this book and love it, is they immediately want to reread it.
Yeah. Because I feel like
there's
there's so many, it's just like a melting pot of stories. There's just stories within stories within stories. I listened to most of it. I did read some on my Kindle, but I listened to most of it. And there were multiple narrators. Mm-hmm. Have you listened to it?
I've listened to some of it, yeah.
Okay. There are multiple narrators for each different story, which is really great because there are so many stories going on that it's hard to keep track and it's non-linear. So it jumps all over the place. So it was easier for me to listen to it than it was to read it, because then I had voices in my head when I did read it of who was reading the story. And I don't know, it really helped me keep everything in order. And also it was really interesting because, like, you'd have a girl reading this story, but then Fortunes and Fables, you would have someone else reading it. And it was awesome, Yeah.
So the basic big overarching story follows Zachary Ezra Rollins, who is a graduate student and finds a book in the library that's pretty mysterious. It doesn't really have, I don't think the barcode doesn't work, or it doesn't.
There is no barcode.
There is no barcode.
Yeah.
There's no author.
Yeah.
It just says Sweet Sorrows on the title page.
Yeah.
That's all that he knows about it. He goes and checks it out. There's even like a a situation with the girl working at the library where she has to create a barcode because she can't check it out for him. So he doesn't really know where this book came from. It was like mis-shelved anyway. And he reads it all in one sitting. Yeah. And it is a book of stories. And so along with you learning about him and his journey with this physical book and him trying to solve the mystery of where it came from, you get the stories within Sweet Sorrows.
Yeah.
And other stories.
Yeah.
The first real magical moment. There's so many magical moments 100%. In this book. This book made me remember what reading a book as a kid was like.
Oh, 100%.
Read those like fairy tales and believe in unicorns and
it made me think of the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
How, he goes into the bookshop and the bookstore keeper is like, don't take this book. You can't have it. It's not for children, whatever. And then obviously he takes the book.
Yeah, yeah.
And he reads it, and it's like finding yourself within a story.
Yeah.
And being like, what the hell? And that's what happens to him. He finds a story of him.
Yeah,
in
that's
the story.
The big magical moment that kind of kicks everything off is he's reading this book, and at the end, there is a story about him finding a door in an alleyway when he was walking home from school, and he chose not to open it.
Yeah.
It was like painted on a wall, and he was like, it looks like, he was like, it looks like it could open, and he chose not to open it.
Right.
And that was in the book, and he was like,
because it really happened to him when he was younger.
A real story.
Yeah, and it was in the book.
And now it's in this book, and how is it in this book? And now I'm like, am I in a book?
It's
there a
very,
book of me out there?
I mean, it's very like simulation adjacent. If you are one of those people that are like, life is a simulation and we're just all like game pieces.
This could be proof of that.
This could totally be proof of that. I mean, I had more than one instance where I was like, wait. Like, what? And then there's even a layer of where like he's going to college. He's a graduate student to be to make games, to be a game maker, like a video game maker. And I don't know. There were just so many things that I was just like, is this a simulation? Like, does someone know that I'm reading this book right now? And then bringing in other characters and then finding out, I don't know, all these other, like the idea of fate. And is fate, like I couldn't even...
There's a lot of themes that this book covers.
Yeah.
The main one, and probably the one that I love the most, is the idea of fate versus choice. So he made a choice not to open that door when he was a kid. Mm-hmm. And he ended up on the other side of that door later on in life. So was he supposed to open that door and fate just intervened and put him where he was supposed to be all along? Or was that the original plan? Or did his choice alter the rest of the story to get him to where he is now?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the whole thing,
so
because like when you meet other characters, especially towards the end, and it's fresh because I was just thinking about it, where you find the man lost in time, right? And then he's like trying to capture this story, and he keeps hearing it buzzing, and he doesn't understand why it's buzzing, and but he hears pieces of it, and he's trying to collect this story, and he, Zachary looks up, and there's just like a tapestry of a story, but it's bits and pieces, and you can't put it together quite right, and it's not reading the right way. And then the man's like, it changes. It's changing. It's changed. Like the story continues to change. Yeah. And I feel like this whole book is a huge metaphor, honestly. A huge metaphor for life. It's a metaphor
made out of other metaphors.
I mean, it's just so, it's so meta.
It's a metaphor wrapped in metaphors.
It's insane. And I kept feeling like, oh girl, you got this figured out. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like, what's happening. And then I did not. Again, and I'm very good. I pride myself in being able to figure out what's going to happen in a book.
Yeah.
And this continued to baffle me like over and over and over and over again. And I would think that I knew who somebody was, and then I did not. And then I would think that I was going to figure out how it was going to end or what his purpose of being there was. And then I thought I knew who the pirate was. And then I thought I knew who, like I didn't know who anybody was. It was just like it was a mind fuck, honestly.
And I think that was by design. So good job, Erin.
I wanted to talk about that too. Like who sits down and is like, I'm going to write this book. And it's going to be like, this woman has to, I don't have that type of talent in my brain to like wrap my mind around a world that was created this intricately with like point A and point B, but there's no, like all the in between is just like overlapped. And also time is like, what is time? You know what I mean? Like, none of it makes sense.
Yeah, what is time?
What is time? Who is time?
Well, we figured that out by the end of the book. So yeah, I think it is all about the story. And I think that that's the beautiful thing. I am very much a believer in that everybody has free will, and the choices that you make alter your story.
Yeah.
And the direction that it's going to go in. But I also believe that there are certain things that are meant to happen to you. And if they're really meant to happen to you, they'll find a way.
Yeah.
Regardless of your choices. And I think that those are a lot of times the most monumental moments, or the people that change your life in some way. And so I think that this is a beautiful blending of fate versus choice, and them coinciding side by side.
Yeah.
And for the story to happen. And yeah, it's just so beautiful.
What was that line about fate and time and waiting?
Oh, yeah, I'll find it. I've got it. We'll keep talking about I've got it. One of the first things that I did mark, so you were talking about like it like leaving you were like, you think you figured it out, and then all of a sudden you realize you had no idea. You had it all wrong. When I annotated it for my friend, one of the things that I marked were moments that stopped my heart.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of those moments.
Which is ironic.
Like, yeah. Well, if you read the book, you'll figure that one out. But, yeah.
Wrapped in irony.
Yeah. But I was just like, I would be like so certain that I'd wrapped my head around this thing. And then on the next page, that would all get just blown out of the water. One of my first favorite quotes, though, that happens early on is, everyone is part of a story. What they want is to be part of something worth recording.
Oh,
and I was like, that's so true. That like, you think that
it's like we're all searching for a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of encompasses Zachary's journey pretty well.
Yeah.
Of going from just this, mundane college student to...
Yeah. Well, I don't know about mundane. I feel like he's an interesting person in general. Well, maybe not him, but like what he comes from, because his mother is a fortune teller. And she's a mystic.
Madame Rollins.
Yeah, Madame Rollins. I love the fact that Rollins was in there because my daughter's middle name is Rollins. Yeah. So every time I heard it, I just got super giddy. I loved it. But I don't know. Like, I feel like he was already preconditioned to believe in the mystical. Like, I mean, maybe not. Like, I think he probably believed that his mother had sight, or had, she could see whatever she could see, or like whatever. I'm sure he believed that. But also, like, we are human and we always question magical things. So he's probably like, meh, she's whatever. But like, but I feel like he was already from, I don't know, like,
he was predisposed to believe in the fantastical.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he even says, when he was talking about the moment where he chose not to open the door, he says this is what his mother would call a moment with meaning, a moment that changes the moments to follow. Yeah. And so I think he was already kind of, like you said, he was there. Mundane, no. He's a very interesting dude. And I think just the way, like, it even talks a little bit about, like, him studying gaming and how he approaches gaming and gaming versus storytelling, which I think is also a really cool parallel, because I love games and the stories that get told within those. And in a lot of games too, the choices that you make can change the outcome and stuff. So I really think that was a cool thing to throw in there, because he could have just been an English major or whatever. But instead,
he just loves books.
And so I think that there's even like a discussion that he does with some other students, and they talk about it. And I was like, wow, that's a really great point. Yeah. So that was really cool. I think this is the line that you were talking about.
Okay.
Occasionally fate pulls itself together again, and time is always waiting.
Yes. Like, that was one thing I did love about this book, is that they would take things that were not human or not personified and personify them and make them more human so that you could relate to them, like the moon as a woman, or fate as a person, and time as a person, and fate and time fell in love, and then their love was torn apart, and then, like things that you think of as, I guess, not concrete, as the opposite of concrete, but things that you can't really hold in your hands.
Things that aren't material,
right,
in a material vessel.
Kind
of. Is what it would do.
Was fantastic. Like, even there was this one part where one of the characters would write her nightmares down on a piece of paper and then fold them into stars and then leave them. all over the place. And there was this one part where it was just talking about one of the nightmares, and it was talking about how this nightmare was folded into a star, but then it was unfolded and folded into a unicorn. But the unicorn remembered being a star. That it used to be a star,
and the star remembered that it used to be paper. And the paper remembered that it used to be a tree, and the tree remembered that it used to be a different kind of star. And yes, that is one of my favorite parts in the book, and that just like blows my mind.
Yeah, because you could I feel like I need to be high for this, honestly. Like I should have smoked.
Wait a minute. What would happen if you got high and then read this book?
I think that I would be a little tripped out, honestly. But I mean, honestly, this whole thing was like a fucking fever dream.
Yeah, for sure.
If you were stoned and you were trying to read this, definitely would not understand it. And then probably, I will say that
maybe you would understand it on a deeper level.
Maybe you would. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe she wrote this really stoned.
It's like that meme of that woman, but it's just like math symbols above her head.
Exactly.
Like, it would be like
I'm calculating. I mean, seriously, because I don't know. But it was so like beautiful and obviously calculated that there's no way that you were just like, I'm just going to talk about a unicorn, remembering it was a tree, and like make it beautiful and make it like way more than that. I don't know. Like it was just so bizarre. And that happened multiple times in the book. Like I can't think, but personifying things or humanizing things that are not human.
So on the other side of the door, what Zachary Ezra Rollins doesn't find when he was a kid, but finds later on in life, was the Starless Sea. And it is this underground library, basically. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But the basic
They call it a harbor.
Yeah. So there's the Starless Sea itself, which is an actual body of, you find out later, is honey.
Yeah.
Which, okay, it's cool. Explains all the bees. But there's harbors built along the Starless Sea. And those harbors are repositories for stories of every shape and kind. Stories that are written, and stories that are told, and stories that are carved in rock, and stories that are folded up on pieces of paper and turned into stars. And throughout this book, you learn some of those stories, and then you learn about some of the people who created those stories or care for those stories. There are people who live in the harbor, and their job is to maintain this, safe hold for all of these stories. And it is the idea of like this hidden world beneath our feet that at any moment you could stumble upon an entrance to. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to find my door.
You want to find your door?
Like, I want to find my door. I'm like ready to go, like pick me.
Yeah.
But like that whimsy, that idea of like believing that that can happen is what I feel like a lot of people lose as they get older.
Yeah.
And this book brought that back for me in a big way, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. But the descriptions of this place are literally otherworldly.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love is that we had talked about other authors like Ashley Herring Blake, how she writes like very kind of character forward to begin with, and like has to figure out all the characters' backstories and their traumas and all this.
Yeah.
Erin Morgenstern kind of does the opposite. She starts with a setting that's almost a character in itself.
Oh, yeah. And the Starless Sea, that whole world was a character.
Yeah. And so she starts with the setting and then builds the stories and the people who reside within it from there. And I think that that's a really cool way to approach writing something.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Narnia. Like all the pop culture references that were thrown in, like the White Rabbit and going down the rabbit hole. And then there's even a conversation about it with who wore the rabbit mask? Eleanor. One of the characters wore a rabbit mask.
Eleanor. And she wore rabbit ears,
Yeah, rabbit ears, a mask, whatever. And she's like, be a rabbit.
What do you do when you go down the rabbit hole? You be a rabbit.
Be a rabbit,
yeah.
Right? And like, there's just so many. And them even finding a tunnel in the back of his wardrobe. And he, for his whole life, he's read books in his closets.
Hoping to find
a door or like a tunnel, a magical world through the wardrobe, like in Narnia.
He found it. He freaking found
it while it was already in Narnia. Yeah, but that's just another layer.
He found the Narnia within the Narnia.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, and then I don't know, just so many references that I was like, oh my god, like.
So what were if you had to like narrow it down? like the Starless Sea details, like the actual descriptions and areas that they describe within the harbor on the Starless Sea. What were some of your favorites?
Well, I really loved, this is going to sound really dark, but I talked about this with my wife yesterday, and she looked at me like I was kind of crazy because I was like, I just love this idea. It's like Zachary goes on his own little side quest and finds a hidden area, and it's a crypt.
Oh my gosh, I have it written here.
Shut up.
The crypt.
The crypt. I thought that it was so beautiful. And he's like, I walk in there's a bunch of dead people, and they're in various states of decay, but they're all wrapped with, they're not mummies, but they're all wrapped.
He thinks that they're mummies to begin with.
Yeah, because they're all wrapped with things.
When he gets closer, that the strips of cloth are actually
memories.
Strips of paper with memories written on them.
Which is so beautiful. Like people, when they died, people wrote memories that they had of them from their lives and then wrapped it around their dead body. Like he laughed more than anyone I ever knew. Or she was so quiet walking down the hallway barefoot. She was like a cat, or like just random stuff that you had memories of that person and you left it with their bodies when they passed away.
Yeah.
So freaking beautiful. Obviously that was not a beautiful, like visually beautiful place.
No.
It was a crypt. But I thought that the sentiment was absolutely beautiful.
And I think that's kind of one of the basic like tenets of humanity is thinking about what you're going to leave behind. And I think at the end of the day, everyone is just stories.
Yeah.
Like
I've said that
stories.
The more that I swear, I feel like when I was a bartender in college, which was many, many moon ago, I remember having a conversation with my friend Andrew, and he was like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what are you going to do? Because I had a colorful college experience. You know, I was a theater major. I went to New York. I decided I didn't want to be a theater major. I went back, but I never went back to school because I was like, I don't want to do this. So as I'm bartending, didn't finish college. We were just having, a life conversation. And he was like, what do you want to do? And I said, I just want to have stories. I just want to have all kinds of crazy stories to tag my name on. I don't know. Like, I just want stories. And I've thought about that multiple times while reading this book, is that the idea that we are put on this earth and we have no idea if it's a simulation or if somebody has control or if we were put here for a reason or if we come back or if karma's real or should I be religious? Like all of these crazy like questions, it's all really like what happens next, like what happens after I die. But honestly, I feel like we're just here for human connection and figuring out how to make the most of the time that we have here, because we don't know what happens next. And so if we get to come back, yay, but if we don't and it's over, that's it. Yeah. So I just want to make memories and write some really badass stories with the time that I've got here.
Yeah. And once you're gone, that's what is going to live on is, the stories. You could have a monument or, and people could come visit it and whatever. But at the end of the day, the thing that's going to live on long after you're gone is the stories that you helped create and the people who remember them and retell them. It even said, like, that was like one of the last lines of the whole book was like the stories that are told or retold. Like that's what we leave behind. I also loved the dollhouse room.
Oh my God, me too. That was my other one. I got off on some kind of spiritual tangent, but
no, that's fine.
The dollhouse was awesome. The dollhouse room was awesome because one, I love dollhouses still as an adult. I think they're amazing. My daughter loves dollhouses now, so I get to like relive my childhood and it's fantastic. But the fact that everyone who visited the room added on to it, so it wasn't just a dollhouse, it was a doll city, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
And it wasn't just, it was the dollhouse and the dollhouse furniture and the dolls that were in it, but then people would add to it using whatever they had. A button from their coat would turn into a car wheel, table or a car wheel or whatever, and a piece of paper in their pocket would be folded up and turned into an animal or a patch of fence or something. So this idea that you're creating this universe basically out of all these found objects, and it's constantly changed. It talked about someone walking in and the breeze from them opening the door would knock over something, but then they would fix it or they wouldn't. And this like constantly changing world in this room was just like a really beautiful idea to me. Again,
is this a metaphor for somebody else controlling the world? I don't know. Like if some giant walks in and he's like building building cities, and then
we could record for like 14 days on just, is this a metaphor in the book?
it's 100% a metaphor.
Yeah.
It is. For what? I don't know, but
Everything is a metaphor.
Everything. Yeah. But it's beautiful. I don't know what else. I just love the idea that there are cats everywhere. I'm like a newly discovered cat person.
Oh yeah, you're a full-on cat lady.
I am a cat lady now. I have always been a dog lesbian, but now I have 2 garage cats and I cannot love them more. Not even if I tried. And I don't know, like the fact that there's just like random, and he finds a random Persian cat that follows him around, and he it's just like his familiar now.
Well, it's like isn't it the cat that leads him down to the crypt, kind of?
Yeah, or it goes with him, and then he like screeches and is like, I'm not going in there because there's dead people. Yeah. But yeah, and he shows up later too, like down below. When I just said down below, it made me think of in his mother's house, she had a sign that said "as above, so below." Yeah, which was so cool because I was like, oh my God, they don't know where he is, but he's literally below her feet right now somewhere.
I would love to meet every character in this book.
Same.
But I think if I had to pick one, if I could just sit down and like have a cup of coffee with one character in this book, it would be his mom.
Yeah, I feel like you'd get the most clarity from that conversation. Everybody else would be super vague.
Like, we haven't even touched on Kat, who is his friend from college, who, when Zachary goes into the Starless Sea, he's having all of these adventures and writing all these stories, but he's essentially disappeared from his life. Mm-hmm. And his friend Kat is the only one that seems bothered by this. And towards the end of the book goes and has takes some of his stuff. I mean, I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was a while.
Like 2 years later.
After he disappeared. Yeah. Takes his stuff that was left in his dorm room to his mom after she graduates from college. And there's a moment where she's getting ready to leave and Madame Rollins gives her a hug and like basically tells her, you know, you think you don't have anywhere to go, but this like kind of blows her mind with the accuracy of the things that she's kind of figured out about Kat. And there's no way for this woman to know any of this except for
she's a fortune teller.
She's a fortune teller.
She sees things.
She sees things. And she says that, I thought this was also a really sweet moment when she was talking to Kat, and she says that she went to a fortune teller when she was young, and everything that woman said came to pass except for one, and that was the woman told her that she would have 2 sons, and that when she wondered often how this woman could be right about everything and wrong about this one thing, and then she realized that it was because she hadn't met her son-in-law, right? And that's how she knows that Zachary will come back one day, right? Is because she hasn't met her son-in-law yet, who we've met at that point, and is running around underground in the Starless Sea. Dorian, oh man, I love me some Dorian so
He was good. He was really good. I feel like I wanted more out of his backstory, but there was no time for it. There's no time for that.
I mean, there's no time. A lot in
there's
this
no
book.
Time for Dorian's backstory. Maybe she should write a novella of just each
Dorian.
Character.
Oh,
like
I would eat that.
I would
shit
too. Like, can we
Erin,
revisit?
If you're listening. Please.
Can we revisit and just have like Dorian's story and then like Kat's story and then like, you know, just let's talk about Mirabelle. There's a lot that I need clarified. Like I was confused. I know that time doesn't work the same down there. Yeah. As it does everywhere else.
On the surface.
Yeah. And I feel like even further down where we find close, like where
you get to Simon and Eleanor.
Yeah, exactly. The Ballad of Simon and Eleanor broke my heart.
One of my favorite stories within the story was the Ballad of Simon and Eleanor.
I don't know.
I also think even backing up the knock upon the memory of a door, that story, which is Eleanor's origin story in a way, where she finds the door as a child and goes into the Starless Sea, is so beautiful. I love that one. The descriptions of this door that has fallen in these woods and is decaying, and there's really nothing left but the doorknob, and yet it still opens to the Starless Sea. It's just like, I mean, who doesn't wander through the woods and wait to find something magical? Like,
absolutely. I'm definitely going to be looking for doors now.
I'm like, doors or fairies,
because they're all unassuming. Yeah. But also at the same time, the Starless Sea that we get to see in like present day Starless Sea, like where he's experiencing Zachary,
harbor.
Like the harbor and all that stuff. He got to see echoes of how it was back when more people were there. Yeah. Because this was towards the end.
Well, Allegra had done a lot of damage
and like closed all the doors and side story.
Let's talk about Allegra.
Listen, I did not even put 2 and 2 together until the painter lost her eye. And then I was like, wait a second. I think I know who that is.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this book is you will be getting someone's story and not realize it's someone's story.
Yeah.
Like you'll be reading this story from the past about this painter, and then you're reading about this woman who's, poisoning Dorian and like trying to close all the doors to the Starless Sea, and you don't know until this one magical moment when it all falls into place that you've been reading about the same person the
whole
time.
The whole
entire
time. And I don't fault her for not, change is scary, and she knew and saw that this would come to pass and the place that she loved would be destroyed, and she didn't want that to happen. So I don't fault her for leaving.
I understand her
to
motivation.
try to keep, obviously she made some poor choices.
For sure.
But like the fact that you love a place so dearly and you've lived there forever and you don't want it to go away. And so you'll do anything within your power to keep it just the way it is.
Well,
and
you and I talked about that because within the harbor, there are 3 paths that you can take if you choose to be sort of like a resident, for lack of a better way to put that.
Yeah.
You can be an acolyte, you can be a keeper, or you can be chosen to be a guardian.
Yeah.
You can't. Guardians are chosen. They don't choose to be. But you're tested, and each path has its own job. So the acolytes are like the maintenance crew of all of these stories.
Yeah, they keep the books safe and like dust their shelves and move them around. And also they're required to memorize most. Like that's their job, is to memorize the stories. They're like...
And you asked me what story would I memorize if I was to become an acolyte.
Yeah.
And I threw out an answer, but I had not really put a lot of thought into it. And I've thought about that. And I would like to change my answer. My answer now would be The Star Merchant.
Okay.
Which is where the toast, which is one of my favorite things from this book, is the toast that keeps repeating.
Yeah.
Where someone will raise a glass and say to seeking, and then someone will raise a glass and say to finding. It's like a call and response. I'm literally getting that tattooed on my body.
Yeah.
Hopefully this year. But the toast comes from, and then it's where we really get to learn a lot about time and fate and then falling in love.
Yes. And to become an acolyte, you are required to go through different levels of, I guess...
Don't you have to you have to stay in a room by yourself?
They sit you in a room for alone, and then somebody comes in. Like you're required to memorize a story, and it can be any story, but you're required to memorize it. And then someone else comes in, probably already an acolyte. It didn't. It just said someone comes in, but I'm assuming that it's someone who's already an acolyte.
Yeah.
A third party comes into the room and sits there, and they're not allowed to speak to you, but you have to tell the story that you memorized to them verbatim. And you can tell it in a lot of different ways. It said that there was one person that just stood up and whispered it in their like judge's ear. And there was one person that turned the lights off one by one slowly throughout the retelling.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, throughout the retelling to like set the stage until, and it was a horror story that she memorized. And then at the end, you were in pitch black, which is cute, but like, or you could just sit there and tell the story. But at the end of it, that's one of your tests. And if you pass that, then you go to the last test, which is terrible. Cutting your tongue out.
None of them are really good. Like you've got to sacrifice for these positions. I think I would want to be chosen as a guardian.
Yeah.
I think that's why, as many faults as Allegra has, I understand where she's coming from, because I too would have this great desire to protect this magical place.
Yeah. But also,
I would still want it to be open. I would want people to experience it. And I think that's where I would differ from her, because she was truly trying to cut it off from the rest of the world. She was
to preserve it in the same
Collectors
way.
Club were going around and destroying all of these doors. And so I think that's where I would still want it to be a place for people to experience, but also protect it as well. So I get that. Yeah.
Right. Because who has the power to decide who comes and who goes?
And who hears these stories.
Exactly.
And who doesn't. Yeah.
You don't, how do you just think, oh, well, this is the right way, and like you're not allowed. This is an exclusive club now, and you're not, cool enough or good enough, but nobody has that power.
No. Nobody has that.
It's the Starless Sea. If a door presents itself, you can walk through it and nobody can stop you.
Exactly. And Mirabelle going around painting doors.
Listen, what did the card say when she met Mama Love? Because she was the girl that was painting that she gave her coffee years and years ago when she still lived in New Orleans, before they moved to the cottage. And she brought her in and she pulled cards. She pulled her cards. Yeah. And then she like picked up her coffee cup after, because Mama Love, she reads objects. That's like like her thing. So she does read cards because people like her to read cards.
Sure, yeah. She does like
and
tarot
she does it for
pulls
money.
and
And she still reads them because it's like they mention tarot cards multiple times about how it's just stories depending on what order you place them in.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. But she came into the shop and gave Mirabelle coffee. And then when Mirabelle left, she picked up her coffee cup and read the coffee cup. And whatever she read freaked her out because she ran out to catch her.
I thought that she...
And she couldn't catch her. She was gone. So we never got to know what she'd read. It had to have been about Zachary.
It had to have been, yeah.
Well, it had to have been about him playing a huge role in...
Well, and the whole,
Yeah.
He gets stabbed thing.
I wish you could have just seen that pass because Dee was acting it out in charades, trying to avoid spoiling anything.
But I was like, wait a minute, we've already talked about it.
I do. Okay, I will say this book is very different than ones that we've read on the pod before.
Yeah.
It has no spice. The romance is
like they kiss.
Yeah, no spice. No, zero spice. Even the kissing is like love.
Yeah.
It's not like spicy at all.
The love story, I think, is important.
It's very important, and it makes
But it's also mixed in with 100 other stories.
Right, and it's just not even, like, there is romance, and there is love, and our main character is in love with a male, so we do have that,
romance.
It's a queer romance. It's just that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. This book is more about...
It's queer lit, technically.
Queer lit in quotes. Like, ish.
But, yeah, I do think that there's a lot of... it's very representative, I think. If you look at the interactions that Kat and Zachary have at the beginning when they're in college and stuff, there's even a moment where there's someone waiting outside of... the room for Zachary to come out after he'd helped Kat do like this lecture thing. Mm-hmm. And Kat even tells him, don't worry. I already told her that basically Kat told this girl, hope you're not waiting around to ask him out because he doesn't like girls.
Yeah.
and
she was queer too. Kat.
Yeah.
She had a girlfriend.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of queer representation and it's done very well in this book.
Yeah. So it totally falls within the parameters of queer lit for Cliterature.
Yes.
Sorry to disappoint anybody if you were looking for spice. This is not the episode for you, but you're already 40 minutes in, so just hang on.
You all know how much we love some spice. So
we do.
We'll get back around to it. But
I feel like it wasn't a palate cleanser because it was amazing. It's amazing. And I'm going to read it again.
Yeah.
It's so, there's no way that we can talk about the book all the way through, like ever. We'd have to have multiple episodes. We could do like a whole year dedicated to this and talk about specific stories within the story and probably still miss a lot.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it was super important to read because it's made me but it's made me think way deeper than usual about life and the metaphor of life and like what is happening I don't know, like I just feel like it sparked a lot of, I guess like you said, whimsy. And I do feel like it made me like revisit magical worlds like the Neverending Story and Narnia and the Labyrinth and just crazy places that as a child I was obsessed with because everybody's looking for a closet that has a magical land in the back of it.
Everybody's looking for a magical underground harbor full of stories.
Yeah.
They just walk through a door in the
I
middle
love
of an alleyway to get to.
Even talking more about the harbor, like hallways full of books from floor to ceiling, all over the ceiling, like arched ways, like you don't know how the books are hanging up there. Like just books everywhere. And that might not be a magical thing to everybody who doesn't love books, but to me, I can smell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That sounds like the most magical place on earth.
That sounds fantastic. And they were just rooms with tables and books stacked on them and like comfortable chairs.
Can you imagine just like, and they talked about, there are the acolytes and the keepers and stuff that live down there full time. But they talked about the people who just come and go, that just visit.
You just visit.
There are people who've discovered these doors and built their houses around them. And they can visit. Come and go whenever. And there's even a party that gets thrown in the ballroom. There's this grand ballroom in the harbor. And there's a party that's thrown and there's hundreds of people there. Can you imagine just having access to there's
I don't think I'd ever come home.
We're sitting in this room and there's a closet door next to me and like what
would happen if I could just go in there?
And then there's the harbor.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but books and all of these stories. Like,
and it's all magic. It's all magical. Like, it's seeing all of your favorite stories brought to life. It's like being able to pick out your imagination from your mind while you're reading these glorious stories, but be able to touch them and dance with them and have a drink with them, you know?
Think about this. So Eleanor was a child when she literally fell into the Starless Sea, and then has grown up there, and then has a daughter there who we find out is Mirabelle. Can you imagine growing up in that world where you can just like, imagination is almost reality at that point? Like, that's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. And then how would it be going up to the real world?
And then you're like, what the hell is this?
Why the fuck did I choose? I'm going back. Like, why would escaping reality, another metaphor for escaping reality through a book. Like, you can escape reality to the Starless Sea.
Literally.
Yeah. And just live down there or hang out down there as long as you want.
Also, silly detail, but while we're talking about living in this magical world and how amazing it would be, and sign me up right now, and the kitchen, like the dumb kitchen thing, where you can just like whatever you want and it kind of just like appears.
Yeah.
Who doesn't dream about that? Like, I want a magical hole in the wall that just creates all the snacks.
And they even knew he was gluten free.
Yeah.
It was even like, here's a gluten free lemon poppy seed muffin, and he's like, oh wow, that's great. Thanks.
One of the scenes I reread today was when Mirabelle was a baby. Eleanor had just given birth to Mirabelle, and she didn't know. She said, I don't know what to name it. Yeah. And she asked the kitchen, and the kitchen just sends up a scrap of paper with the word Mirabelle. Like, the kitchen named this baby.
Yeah. The fact that you find out later who the kitchen is, and they've been there the whole time, and that's who you've been talking to the whole time, bonkers. Crazy. Like, what? What? Also, again, like the idea of death and finding out what happens after death, and having like being in this place and knowing that you're dead, and then being like, this is what happens. Yeah. Like, I had so many questions. I was like, this is not how. I don't know. Like, I think this whole book made me extremely philosophical. Like, I was like, what is life?
And see, for me, it made me philosophical as well. I think the things that it made me really focus on were, the fate aspect. That's probably
So you believe in fate?
Things. In a way, yes. Yeah. Like, do I think that fate is controlling everything? No. But do I think that some things are going to happen to you?
Yeah, like everything happens for a reason.
Different way
is a thing, or
like, because there's some things that are just too improbable to have happened kind of on their own. Do you know what I mean?
I like the idea of fate. I think I'm a little more cynical than you are.
That's fine.
I do like the idea of free will and choice.
Absolutely.
And the fact that choices that I make can influence fate, if it is.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
A thing.
I think that is 100% yes. A thing.
Yeah, because I struggle with control issues. And so the fact that there's just fate out there running around saying, there's a reason for this, so it's going to happen regardless. Like, no, thank you. I'm going to choose to go right when you tell me to go left.
Well, also, you can choose what to do after those things happen. Yeah. Like, it can still happen to you, but you still have the free will to react however you want to react.
That's true.
But yes, I do think in a small way that there are things that can happen to you regardless of what you choose. But again, you have the free will to react to those how you want. I also love the idea of stories. We've talked a little bit about it already, about how that's what you leave behind. But in thinking about how we interact with people, I mean, just think about us. We've known each other for a very long time. Yeah. A lot of our stories are shared at this point. Yeah. Or we've heard them. Like, there's very few times where we're having a conversation that you tell me something that I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that yet. Yeah. Kind of thing. But what do? We still sit around and tell stories. Yeah. Like, when we're together and we're just hanging out, we're telling stories. You remember that time that we did this thing and that thing happened? Yeah. Like, it happened to me last night. I had dinner with some friends from college, and what do we do almost the entire time that we were at dinner? Talk about stories and revisit them. And I think that the stories too are like one of the ways that we connect as humans. If you meet someone new, you a lot of times know them through the stories that they tell you about themselves, or that the stories that other people tell you about them. And it's one of the things that I love. I love sitting and listening to people tell stories about themselves, because I feel like that's how I can connect with with them and learn about them in the best way.
It's the closest thing you can get to immortality, because as long as somebody remembers you,
Then you're good.
then you're good. You're still around.
Yeah.
You're still kicking,
Yeah.
you know? Fate can't affect that.
Suck it, fate.
Suck it, fate. People are still telling my stories because they were good ones.
Let's talk about Kat a little bit more, though.
Okay, I will say I was kind of like thrown for a loop when her stories started coming in. Like, I understand that we needed exposition on like the top side.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, where'd Zachary go? And I didn't understand her purpose until she found the key or got given the key. And then I was like, oh, okay. Obviously, she has to unlock a door at some point. Who's going to come through the door? I don't know. But like, she has a purpose now. Obviously, fate gave her the key.
Uh-huh.
Again, fucking fate. But I did like the idea of her whole dialogue was just her writing in a journal.
Yeah. She's worried that Zachary's disappeared.
Yeah.
And
the police aren't doing anything.
The police don't really, I mean, he's an adult. There were no signs of foul play.
Right.
They think that he just ran off.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Whatever. She's convinced there's more to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, she was right. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when she starts really digging, you have people trying to keep her from figuring out the truth. And she gets a little paranoid for good reason.
Yeah. People were wiping her emails, wiping her cell phone.
All this stuff.
She couldn't find any emails from Zachary. She couldn't find any text messages
I like
from
where
Zachary.
she went to his room and like his computer had been wiped and everything. She's like, but I stole his PS4.
Because they don't know to wipe that.
But I was like, also she's a gamer. And I was
Yeah,
like, that makes sense.
yeah,
Let's
take it.
his PS4.
Take it. Somebody needs to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's getting super paranoid because people are trying to keep her from discovering what really happened to him. And she gets to the point to where she just starts writing everything in a notebook because she's afraid to put it out there electronically because it'll get wiped.
Oh, yeah. She got rid of her social media. She wasn't...
Like, got a burner phone.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. Like, she went real old school with it. So you start getting a lot of her story through excerpts from that notebook, from her diary, which I also think is kind of cool.
Yeah, because again, it's a story.
It's a story.
It's
It's
a book.
another book within this book. I didn't understand. At the beginning of the book, she made sense to me because you needed other people to interact with him before he got to the harbor.
Yeah.
And before he met Dorian and Mirabelle and all these people. But she kind of... I was just like, I don't really understand where she's going. And then it's another one of those where like, it doesn't make sense until the last moment.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's like the last couple pages of the book.
Right.
When you realize what her entire role
Purpose.
in this purpose in this story was. And that is for her to find the harbor, the new harbor.
The new harbor.
Because the harbor that Zachary knows has been destroyed.
Right.
And that's kind of, again, another metaphor of like the cycle of life, because it talks about all these old harbors and how they'll be destroyed, and then a new harbor is built, and then it's destroyed and a new harbor is built.
And even like the keeper, when he was leaving the harbor, when it was actively being destroyed, with Rhyme, who was the only acolyte left because the harbor was on its last legs when Zachary found it. He said, it's all up here, like pointed to her head, like she was the only acolyte. She remembers all the stories. You know what to do. And he hands her a ballpoint pen. So it's like,
she's got to start writing
it's
these
her
stories.
job to go in the new world to rebuild this giant library of all of the knowledge and stories that she has in the next one, because you got to restock the harbor, like that's part of it. But it's so new beginnings, cyclical rebirth.
And I love that the ending was a beginning. You know, like it very much like the ending of this book was the beginning of so many other stories, because she opens the door and you don't know what happens.
And you don't know what happens. That. Yeah. The door's open though.
Do you think that she stays, or do you think she's one of those people that kind of comes and goes? Do you think she's going to stay in the harbor?
I think she's going to find Dorian and Zachary.
Oh, she's going to find Dorian. She's going to find, she's
going
too
to find
tenacious
Zachary.
not to find
yeah,
Zachary.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
She's like, this is definitely where he is. So I'm going to open this door and go down there. But I don't know. I don't think she'll stay.
You don't think so?
No, I think I don't know. I didn't get enough of her. I don't feel like I got enough of her. And the fact that Allegra offered her a role with the Collectors Club.
Yeah.
The people who were destroying doors, actively destroying doors. And she said, no, I don't think so. And then like ask her if it was a cult, basically, which is sounds very culty.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, fair. But I don't know. I feel like she's got her own stories to tell. So I don't think she'd be somebody who would stay in one place and just...
I think she'd spend some time there, though.
Definitely.
I think
she'd definitely go back and forth.
She'd go back and forth. But I think she'd spend a decent amount of time down there.
Yeah.
To begin with. Just like, she's too adventurous and nosy, I feel like, not to dig around as much as she can before she...
Do you think Simon is lost forever, like in his mind? Or do you think he was the person sitting up on the ledge that Eleanor was like, I'll have to save him because otherwise I don't know how he'll get out?
100% he was the person on the ledge.
Eleanor and Simon are reconnected, but like,
I think,
what do you think
they're
happened?
the cycle. I think they come to, if you look at the beginning of their story,
the
way that they met was very much, they were put together and torn apart and put together and torn apart and put together and torn apart. And then they got separated and lost from each other.
Right.
I think that's their role. That's what they're fated to do, I guess, is that they will come together now and then they will be pulled apart. I also think that Simon is very much almost like a warning story of don't live with your head in the clouds too far. Like, don't, like, yes, this is a fantastical world and you should, live in all of these stories, but you also kind of need to keep a foot on the ground. Otherwise you're going to be lost in your head, kind of like he is. And I think that was kind of his role in a lot of this, was to offer that kind of like cautionary tale a little bit. But I don't know,
because I don't know. Mirabelle talked about how they put my parents together so that I would be conceived outside of time, because I needed to be created outside of time to become fate, to become this immortal person.
She's not the first fate, and she won't be the last fate.
Right. And
she's
there's so many iterations of her.
Yeah.
But she, and even Eleanor talks to Dorian about, because Dorian's like, I know your daughter. And she's like, she's not my daughter because she is someone within my daughter. Like, it's not like, like
Eleanor and Simon created a vessel, and that's what it is. For fate. Yeah.
This is also crazy.
It's crazy. Like, the more you think about it and talk about it, you're like, oh.
What? Yeah, I'm going to have to read it again. Immediately.
I kind of would give a lot of money to sit down and pick Erin Morgenstern's brain about this.
Oh my God. I'd have so many questions.
And you've read The Night Circus, too.
No, I haven't.
I haven't. Okay.
I have it, but I have not read it.
You need to turn around and read it. Because to me, and not to get too far into a book that we're not actually doing the episode about, but the Starless Sea is like light and ethereal. Mm-hmm. And The Night Circus feels kind of dark.
Yeah.
And a little almost like demonic kind of.
Okay.
It's not, but like if you just think about the overall vibe of it, it's real dark and heavy and there's a lot of fire and things like that. And so they almost feel like two sides of a coin. There's also a lot of tarot situations that happen in
Love it.
The Night Circus. So, that's kind of feel like a repeated theme. So I'd love to know more about that. Also, I just need her to write some more books. Thank you, because...
Well, hell, it probably took her for fucking ever to get through all of this. Like, I mean, how do you sit down and just write this book without having years and years of like, and then I'm going to weave this together with this, and then like years later, it's all going to come together. Like,
as someone who likes to fancy herself somewhat of a writer and would...
I am not a writer like this.
Would love to one day have a book or more out there. They're not going to be like this.
No, mine's going to be definitely like fluff compared to this.
Oh, mine's just going to be like pure smut, probably. Let's be real, guys. But
God.
The way your brain must work to create these complex worlds, like, bravo.
Yeah.
Dude, bravo.
So layered. And it's also vivid. Like, it's written so vividly that you see every single bit of detail.
The tree trunk with the book stacked on it and the honey flowing and the owl king sitting on it and the statue of the woman covered in bees. And
I just keep thinking about when he went into the memory. It might have been when they went through the wardrobe, him and Dorian, and like Dorian wasn't there, but he could hear him talking, but he wasn't there. And then the redheaded guy saw him and he was like, "You're not here right now, are you?"
Yeah.
But they could see him.
It's the memory of wasn't it the ball?
It was the ball. It might have been, but it was out by the sea. And like the woman was laying there wrapped only in ribbons, but there were stories on the ribbons and he was reading that. And it was like the story of the moon falling in love with the innkeeper. And just like, I could see all of it. Like I could see all of it.
It is it's extremely vivid as far as, can you imagine trying to take this and turn it into like a show or a movie?
Oh my God. Nobody, I don't think anybody could do it justice.
Like, I would love to see it, but also I don't want it because it would not live up to my expectations probably.
Yeah.
But can you imagine what it would be like to walk into a room and see a painting of yourself that shouldn't exist?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That someone painted without technically knowing you.
Yeah, and the fact that Allegra was the painter.
Uh-huh.
Also, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Like, he questioned whether or not he was in a dream multiple times. And I feel like the lower you go into the harbor, the less
it is.
And then they start throwing like scary shit at you and like showing what you want to happen. And you're like, no, wait, this isn't real. And then like, is it real? And then it ended up getting him murdered because the whole time that Dorian was walking around, they were throwing different Zacharys at him. And he was like, oh no, you're another demon. Nope, you're not. But like, and I didn't think that he was the one that needed to have the sword. I thought that Zachary was the one that needed to have the sword. But in that moment, when the moon gave him to Zachary for like 5 seconds, he was like, it feels like the thing to do. And like gave him the sword. So he gave him the sword because he was fated to get stabbed and fated to die so that he could be saved with Fate's heart.
Fate saved him in the end.
What the hell? And then she's like, he thought I wouldn't give him a happy ending. I'm kind of offended.
I know, that was a really good line.
I
love
dang.
I'm kind of offended.
You know, like, I don't know if that's what she said, but it was pretty much that.
It was pretty much close to it, yeah.
Wow. I could just like babble forever, but
I'm just so glad that you loved this book.
I loved it. It was so good. I loved it so much. I feel like it checked all of the I don't know, like it was just so magical and whimsical and kept me wrapped. Like I was so into it. Yeah. You know, it took me a second to get into it. Yeah. I will say the first like few chapters, I was like, oh my God, when's like the thing gonna happen? What's gonna happen? I want to go to the Starless Sea. But I also think that was on purpose because by the time you get there, you're like, what is happening? Yeah. Oh my God. You know? So yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm going to read it again for sure.
I can't wait. All right, next up, we're going to be reading Ladies in Hating by Alexandra Vosti for our February 1st episode. Back to some spice for you.
Love it. Dee's already read this, and she keeps telling me that it's the sexiest spicy scene against a bookshelf she's ever read.
This was one of those books where I was like, I hate this book. And then all of a sudden I didn't hate it anymore, and I really, really liked it. So...
Okay, well, I'm really excited to read it. I love a period drama.
I didn't until this one.
Okay, well, it gives Bridgerton vibes, I've read, so.
Sure, I didn't watch Bridgerton or whatever, but
wow, yeah. Okay, well, you're lame. But yeah, so Ladies in Hating, read it all through January so that you can be caught up with us when we drop our episode 7 on February 1st.
All right, we'll see you there.
See you there.